buying cheap new graphics cards right now is really not a thing. So that $150 to $200 price point is yet to be filled, but we're gonna show you 3 great choices today.
And we dove into the used market to make that happen. We're gonna be testing 3 different GPUs ranging from $150 to $200 to see what is the best budget king under $200. We'll talk about that after a word from today's sponsor.
When building a good price to performance game PC, one of the ways that we like to save money here at the Toasty Bros is by using a micro ATX case. And today's video sponsor, Okinos, is our favorite go-to brand whenever we're picking out a nice price to performance PC case. Today we're taking a look at the Cypress 3 Wood and Mirage 4 from Okinos' lineup. The Cypress 3 and Mirage 4 have gained a lot of traction this year, and they've been very well received in terms of Amazon ratings and reviews. Taking a look at the Cypress 3 Wood from Okinos, this is the traditional PC case done to perfection, coming in with 4 pre-installed black fans, as well as that front wood grain design that is true wood actually, and coming in at $61.99, this deal is amazing. Moving over to the Mirage 4, this is similar to the Okinos Aqua 3, but instead of the Aqua 3, it comes with radiator support for 240mm radiators. In addition, it comes with 3 pre-installed ARGB fans, the bottom ones being reverse blade for that fresh air going straight to the GPU. And for a compact fish tank design with 3 ARGB fans pre-installed for $61.99, that's really hard to beat as well. To learn more about the Mirage 4 and the Cypress 3 Wood, check out those links in the description down below, and also take a look at the other Okinos PC cases that we often build in. Big thanks to Okinos for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to it.
So once again, we have 3 graphics cards that range from about $150 to like $190, which obviously we got a little bit of padding in there, but 3 really good choices on the used market, which you can find on eBay, Facebook, Jawa, OfferUp, places like that.
And this is similar to the video we did where we tested 3 GPUs under $100, but this time we're stepping things up to under $200. And again, there's a bunch of different graphics cards in this price range, some that are a little bit more than $200 that we'll mention as honorable mentions at the end of this video, but we're focusing on 3 options, 1 from Team Red and 2 from Team Green. Let's go ahead and introduce you to the graphics cards. First up, we have the RX 5700 XT at a price point of $150. Specifically, we have this 2-fan MSI gaming model. This graphics card was released on July 7th of 2019 at a $399 MSRP. It is a PCI 4.0x16 GPU with 8GB of GDDR6 VRAM and a 225-watt TDP. And our specific model in terms of video out comes with 3 display ports and 1 HDMI. And for power connectors, our model is a high-end card, so we do have 2 8-pins for power, but most of the times you see it 8+6 for the 5700 XT.
Now next up in the mid-price point at $169, we have the RTX 2070 Super 8GB model. The specific card is a Asus blower style card, and this was released July 9th of 2019 at a $500 MSRP. Now these cards are actually PCIe Gen 3x16. They have 8GB of GDDR6 VRAM and a 215-watt TDP. And our specific model has an 8-pin and a 6-pin for power, and then pretty similar port layout. We actually have 3 DisplayPort and 1 HDMI.
And lastly, our Zotac Gaming RTX 2080 Super comes in at $189, $190 to round up. It was released on July 23rd of 2019 at a $699 MSRP. It is a PCI 3.0x16 card with 8GB of GDDR6 VRAM and a TDP of 250 watts. This one also comes with an 8+6 pin for power, and for video out, we have 3 DisplayPort and 1 HDMI. So video out is very consistent across all these GPUs. And in this video, what we're going to do is use our mid-range test bench to test these graphics cards. If you guys are new to the Toasty Bros, that test bench features a 9600X on a B850 motherboard with 32GB of very expensive DDR5 memory. And this test bench is going to be our control to test all the GPUs, and how we're going to benchmark it is with our Let's Play benchmarks. We're going to be using Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders for our Let's Play benchmarks, where we show you guys the average and 1% lows during live action gameplay, and then we'll do some side-by-side testing with built-in benchmark tools and a couple other games we'll talk about here in a second to further get more data to see which one is the best price performance option, ranging from $150 up to $200, all staying under $200. Well, let's dive into some testing and find out.
All right, it's time to kick off the test with the 5700 XT, our cheapest card in this roundup. And we are currently running 1080p in Arc Raiders, FSR 3, set to native. And we got Max FOV, like high settings. And you know what? No ray tracing, because just can't even do it.
Yep, no ray tracing, just keep it fair across the board. The other GPUs we do have will have ray tracing options, but 5700 XT, not gonna do great.
Old. Yeah, and that's kind of, you know, this was kind of the direct comparison back in the day when they were both relevant to like the 2070 Super, but I always felt like this card lacked a little bit compared to them just because of the fact that they didn't have very good ray tracing. Oh yes. Let's get some averages going. You guys like when we do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that will change. We'll run FSR 3 because honestly, even running DLSS with DLAA, it looks better than normal anti-aliasing. So that's why we're running the FSR one, because it does look a bit sharper when you run it compared to a TAA.
All right, so our 1% low so far is like 65. Our average is like 87. It's honestly doing better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
It's just Arc Raider being a pretty well optimized title too.
Yeah, 1080p definitely is the range you're looking for with this GPU. The one we have is definitely a souped up, beefy MSI card, so it's going to be like best case scenario. I mean, temperatures are looking pretty good. I'd be curious, oh goodness, how this scales up, because the next card we paid more for is NVIDIA, but it's very similar to this GPU, so I'd be curious.
We have problem.
You're under attack.
You're under attacky. Jesus, dude, this is so bright out here.
It's so bright.
All right, I think we can dip without getting rocketed here. But yeah, this is, I mean, it's pretty impressive, honestly. You know, $150-ish. I've seen these things on eBay even for like $120.
Yeah, biggest thing is we've always tell people these cards have been kind of used and abused.
It is important to note too, you know, for some people, like wattage usage, none of these cards are going to be super efficient though, because they're all kind of older for what they are. But 208 watts, 210 watts, we're pulling it. All right, she's on the way. So yeah, it seems like 64 was like our low pretty much, and then average of like 87, 89. Better than I thought it would be, really.
So low of 64. See if we extract safely.
All right, I'm not gonna go backwards this time.
No, 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 no.
Here's some weird noises. Some explosions happening. All right, well, I think we're good to test out the is it 2070 Super?
Super.
2070 Super is what we're testing next. All right, we're back in Arc Raiders. We're on our mid-range card, our 2070 Super. Go ahead and show you guys the settings, because, you know, they change a little bit from AMD to NVIDIA, especially older AMD. So we're still doing 1080p. We are running a DLSS set to DLAA, so basically no upscaling or anything on the CNN model. And we are doing static for the ray tracing, so technically, I guess this is like a very small amount of ray tracing that we can't really even turn off.
Can you see it? Can it turn off, or is it stuck on static?
You know, maybe it can.
I want to make sure, because the other one I think said off.
It didn't even have an option. Oh god.
Oh, oh. Okay,
yeah,
static.
Only
okay.
static. And it says static preset uses pre-calculated lighting data, small performance cost. So
Yep.
I assume that's just like a really small amount of ray tracing. And you know, that is an advantage of the NVIDIA cards. So spending a little more, you know, but you are supporting Team Green and you're licking boots.
But last time, for comparison purposes, we got about an average of 89 with a 1% low of 64.
This is very close right now.
Very close.
And once again, you know, I do want to keep reminding people, which it should be different in some other games that maybe don't have ray tracing. This is going to be a little bit more demanding.
Yes.
And in the games that force ray tracing with like 5000 series, you're kind of just...
Yeah, they're pretty much screwed at that point, and you'll see through all the other benchmarks. There are some games that have the forced ray tracing built in we can't get rid of, so those benchmark numbers are going to, well, be different compared to the RTX cards we have in this lineup, the 2070 Super and then eventually the 2080 Super.
I'm trying to remember, wasn't there one like more recent game that you just can't launch at all on the 5000 series? Doom.
Yeah, Doom the Dark Ages,
Yeah.
you can't launch at all. I think there is, of course, everyone in the PC community eventually finds a workaround, but naturally, I think Doom just won't even launch with these GPUs that do not support any sort of ray tracing.
Let's go ahead and start heading towards a thingy. So we got one there, and we're gonna clap some bots in the way out.
The first impression, this GPU runs a lot warmer. It is a blower style card, so that is to be expected. Pulls about the same watts actually, 208.
It is, yeah. Yeah, surprisingly close.
Yep.
And most of the 2070s, actually, yeah, that one is a 8-pin and a 6-pin. Was our
it was two 8-pins for that one. Wasn't using the full 2 8-pins, obviously, but just because that seemed to be like a kind of OC card, I'm assuming they wanted to have the 2 8-pins ready to go.
I mean, hey, looks-wise, I really prefer the 2 8-pins.
Oh, he locked on.
Whoa!
Whoa!
You're done for.
Whoa!
Where is this train
get out of here. While you're finding that, I'm going to do a live action thing. I wanted to check.
You gonna pull the card out?
No, yeah, I'm going to pull the GPU out while you're doing that. Now I'm going to pull the footage up from when we did the 5700 XT, see what exactly said in the menus for the ray tracing. Okay, it is static, so it's the same thing. So basically it's just grayed out on static for the 5700 XT. So they were both running the same level of lighting effects. I don't even know if I'd consider it ray tracing because it doesn't have ray tracing hardware. It's whatever lighting effects they use called static. So
illumination, if you will.
Illumination. So these are basically the same settings. You know, with that in mind, if you're not someone who wants to run ray tracing, again, this is the only card that could in theory turn on that ray tracing. The other card is technically slightly faster and cheaper. So in terms of raw performance on ray tracing, that one's there. But we're talking about that whole forced ray tracing thing. It does make these cards more appealing because, again, there should be some options you can't even launch.
Yep. And there are some people who just don't even play new games, and that's fine.
Yep.
If you're one of those people, then any of these cards would probably be good for you. I've got to hear gunshots. I won't even be able to defend myself. Oh god, He didn't teabag with me.
This guy feels like you're going to be typing on the terminal, leave, and he's going to backstab you. Okay, so Jackson's getting there. Looks like we're going to lock in an average of 87, the 1% low of 56. 87 average, 56, 1% low. So slightly less than the 57 XT. No ray tracing enabled. With ray tracing on, this card would do far better because it can actually do it. But how about the 2080 Super? Let's see what that one can do.
How about that? All right, we're back in here. We're back in the Unk Raiders.
Hell
and
yeah,
we got
baby.
our averages and everything going. And I'm going to confirm that that we have not changed the settings on you all. So we're borderless, full screen, 1080p, DLSS, DLAA, CNN, and we got static ray tracing and high settings.
Little refresher. 2070 Super, we got an 87 average with a 1% low of 56. With the 5700 XT, we got an average of 89 with a 1% low of 64. And this one, we're looking like we're in the hundreds now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I'm surprised it's not better though.
Yeah, it is. It's a difference, but it's not like a dramatic jump, I will say. And one thing I'm noticing, and I think that's right to do it, that the 2080 Super is a really good card. It's a card that Jackson and I both use. But the jump from the 2080 Super to 20 Ti is actually a pretty decent jump.
Especially because, I mean, these are all 8 gig of VRAM cards.
Yes.
Which, you pay for VRAM these days, that's for sure. They said anything with 8, y'all can have. It's free.
But can Jackson loot and escape without any issues? So far, we managed to get out every single time. The 2080 Super is a fun card because kind of a fun GPU from when I got it when I went to NVIDIA's headquarters. Jackson upgraded system with the 2080 Super. Just recently, within a year, I swapped to a 4070 Ti from the 2080 Super, and it's still a really capable card. And when we paid $189 for it, I was like, man, that still seems like a pretty dang good deal given the amount of performance you're getting.
Yeah, they're definitely cards that they lasted a long time. I feel like if I had to downgrade, I would definitely probably go to the 2080 Super. Out of everything else here, of course, it is the best.
Temperatures are rising a little bit on our card. Again, we'll see what that ends up being. This is a 3-fan card. 70 degrees is still solid, but it's not in a case right now, so that is a little bit higher. I always like to think, like, if we're getting like 70, 80 degrees outside of a case, you're probably gonna see like 5 or 6 degrees more in a case if it doesn't have like really effective cooling. So maybe a thermal paste swap. It's in that generation of age where you might want to consider it anyways, no matter when you buy one of these.
Yeah, it's definitely older. That thermal paste is probably just solid.
Power Drill's not crazy either. Power Drill's like 213, so not much higher.
Like the exact same, yeah. It's kind of almost interesting. Almost like this game's just not like fully, I don't know, maybe it's just not much better than I thought.
Yeah, I know the ray tracing core is not enabling them. Will definitely lower our power draw because with these dedicated RT cores, that will pull more power, but they're basically off on this. So that's the main reason why.
Don't shoot!
He said, "Don't shoot." Where is he?
He's hiding in the dirt.
Oh.
There he is. He's like, I'm leaving, bro. I ain't teaming up.
Dude, I'm liking your look, homie. I'm liking your look.
I like the drip. The drip's pretty fire.
He's drippy. You think you paid for that?
They might have paid for that drip. Okay, 103 average with a 1% low of 61. As we expected, better than the rest, but the gap isn't like massive, so we'll just have to see price performance wise what ends up being better, but it's looking pretty decent so far. Let's test another game. All right, guys, we are now in Battlefield 6, and we heard you guys loud and clear. We're going to try to keep this map somewhat consistent. This is the Siege of Cairo. This is the map that we picked from a custom map lobby, my God. And we're going to try to re-queue on this one every single time where we test these graphics cards. But the settings are as follows. Currently running medium preset, no upscaling, so native with TAA at 1080p. And that might have boosted our averages a little bit, but it'll chill out a second once we play a little bit longer. Just for, here, I'll do it again. Boom. Fresh. Boom. Fresh benchmarks. Oh, yeah. Cold Justice, you're done. That was a bot. Oh! And again, the 2 games we are testing, they are popular titles. AAA with Battlefield, and then Arc Raiders, a pretty big company that has made it. It's not like Clay Obscure level, but it's one of those where it's a pretty big game, and it's very popular, and the performance is very good on pretty much anything. But it's cool to see what these $200 GPUs can do at 1080p. This is another game where 100 FPS at times on average, it's pretty dang good. Now we are doing the, what's this mode called again?
Casual Breakthrough. Casual
Breakthrough. So it's not a full conquest, which could be more demanding, and your CPU does have a pretty big impact. on. Oh, no! Your CPU does have an impact on performance as well in this game. As you see, our CPU is at like 70% usage. Battlefield likes to use your CPU. I gotta get some more kills. I've like killed nobody. Done nothing of value. Yeah. Yep, run away. Oh, that was boomer aim. It's fine though.
Oh, you got 2.
Oh! All right, I'll give you all one more life. Hey, I will say, for this GPU we got, I mean, it's probably because it's a really beefy cooler. I was expecting this thing to be really hot and in desperate need of a thermal paste swap. We are in an open air test bench, so that is important to mention. But even then, we've tested some like blower style cards in this scenario, especially on the budget sector, and they normally get to like 80 degrees Celsius. We're at 63 on this GPU. So shout out to this beefy design.
This is a good 57 XT.
Your mileage may vary. You may get really budget ones, or you may get good ones like this. So again, this is kind of best case scenario. Oh!
Oh, he's hitting you.
Oh! That's crazy.
No.
I got stabbed. I'm gonna go ahead and do page down on this one. Average of 108 with a 1% low of 76. Very, very playable. Oh, wait, I'm back. I'm back. I'm not done. I'm not done. Okay, I'm done. They're apparently all gone. That's fine. But anyways, we're gonna see what the 2070 Super can do in this game. That's my teammate. We're gonna see what the 2070 Super can do in this game because this is a pretty impressive showing from the 5700 XT. All right, guys, we are now back. Same map. Took a little bit of finagling to make happen, but we're here, Siege Cairo, and currently running the same settings, which I will verify real quick for you guys. Go to here, medium preset, no upscaling. All natty, TAAA, baby, for the upscaling. And our averages are running.
Yeah.
Last time we 108,
higher, right?
Yeah, 108 average, 76, 1% low. So actually a little lower.
Yeah, that's like really close.
Very, very close, which lines up right. These two GPUs were competing as like the two options at this price point back when they launched. So
especially back when their ray tracing was so new that like nobody was using it yet.
Exactly. So there's still a lot of value with the 5700 XT, and as you guys can see in the games that don't require ray tracing, there is still a lot of value with that GPU in 2027.
Dang.
That guy is ready. He's got a bot army coming at him. Ooh, but yeah, we're getting slightly lower averages. Yo!
Why did he drop down like that?
Yeah, slightly lower averages, but still playable nonetheless. It's important to mention, again, depending on your market, it can vary. We did pay more for this GPU. So we're talking price performance between all these different GPUs you can get around the same price, or within the same price range, I may correct myself. We gotta see which
like
one.
A Call of Duty stimmy.
Ooh, yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy they don't know what's up. They don't know what's up. They can't handle me. We're moving up. Oh yeah. Oh, Wolf Miller. Let me spawn you. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Yeah, this is definitely still playable. 2070 Super still a solid GPU. We used it in our little Z4 G4 PC build guide. Good option for plopping in one of those workstations, especially if you get the 6 pins. That guy was dead. Especially get the the 6 pins instead of the 8 pins, because most of these come with an 8 and 6, and you can use one adapter and you're good to go. Oh, yo! Money. Whoa! This is the real battle. Oh!
That's the Battlefield experience.
This is the real Battlefield experience. Oh my God. But yeah, we're gonna close it out there. That was a pretty big stress test right there. 96 average, 1% load, 67. Definitely a bit lower, but let's see what ye old 2080 Super can do. And stay tuned, guys. Once again, we're not just testing these two games. Towards the end, we have some side-by-side benchmarks that we can run to dive a little deeper into it to see what kind of performance numbers we get. All right, guys, so we're loading into Battlefield 6 on the 2080 Super. McAllister, at some point, you have to include gameplay footage of me just absolutely farming on the wrong settings because we were having some issues here. And we are currently running the following settings. Let me go ahead and show you guys. So if we go to graphics here, medium preset. Last time we ran on high. I wasn't really thinking right. I was high. TAA 1080p. I'll just make sure you guys see it. 1080p. There we go. And we're gonna do page up. And these are looking higher than before.
Definitely higher,
this looks better. So last time we were running high settings, we were like, this is doing worse than the 2070 Super. I wonder why. It's on high details. Hey, we're getting a slightly higher average with the 2080 Super. Again, we're talking a price difference, and again, your market may vary. We're talking a difference of about $20. So
that's tough. I mean, that's pretty close.
It's very close. And it's all gonna come down to the price to performance figures with some of the side-by-side benchmarks to see what the difference is like. because this is definitely a good modern game that is just raw GPU horsepower. Doesn't need any upscaling, doesn't need any sort of ray tracing support. This is as raw as it can get, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, but it's worth the extra money. That's ultimately up for you to decide, and you'll see the side-by-side benchmarks to get a better idea of it, but it makes me a god tier medic.
Yeah, this definitely looks more like what, because I was about to be like, man, are these tests even accurate at this point?
Yeah, no, we definitely just did the wrong settings here. This is more what I would expect from the 2080 Super. Boys, back up, boys.
That guy's turned around and started meleeing.
They started like looking at each other like, help.
He's shooting me.
Shoot. Oh! All right, we're gonna stop right here. Looks like we got a 109 average with 1% low of 75. The most we got across the board. Kind of what we expected. But price to performance, which one under $200 is the best buy? We're gonna do some side-by-side benchmarks with some other games and then come to a simple point calculation to see which one is the best bang for buck. But this has been some testing, some fun testing with 3 GPUs. Let's continue. Okay guys, we had some fun with Arc Raiders and Battlefield 6. You guys could see some very popular titles and how they perform on these 3 GPUs, but now we're gonna get a bit more technical and dive into some side-by-side benchmarks using some built-in benchmark tools to properly compare these GPUs at the same time in the same test. And the tests we decided to run are as follows. We have Call of Duty Black Ops 7, Cyberpunk, Marvel Rivals, and 3D Mark Time Spy. First up in Call of Duty Black Ops 7 at 1080p balanced settings with no upscaling, the RX 5700 XT got an average of 150 FPS with a 1% low of 113, while the RTX 2070 Super got an average of 122 FPS with 1% low of 94, and the RTX 2080 Super got an average of 134 FPS with 1% low of 103. This was a really shocking benchmark result, but I have heard that Call of Duty really optimizes for AMD GPUs being an AMD title, and even the older gen cards seem to benefit very well from it. So if you're a COD player, one of the few that may still be out there playing Black Ops 7, the 5700 XT beats even some higher end GPUs it was not beating on its launch in this game. So interesting result that I was excited to show you guys. Next up, Cyberpunk, 1080p high settings with no upscaling. The 5700 XT comes back to reality with an average of 80.12 FPS, a minimum of 66.19, and a max of 99.54. The RTX 2070 Super ends up winning this with an average of 89.37 FPS, a minimum of 75.23, and a max of 108, winning it as in winning it over the 5700 XT. And the 2080 Super ended up with an average of 100.89 FPS, a minimum of 84.92, and a max of 121.08. This is starting to look more like the live benchmarks we just did with Arc Raiders and Battlefield 6. We start improving slowly from the bottom all the way up to the 2080 Super, where the 2080 Super is the better overall card. In a game like Cyberpunk, again, a slightly older title that we are just running a high preset without any ray tracing, still the raw horsepower goes to the 2080 Super, and in terms of price to performance, it's going to make for an interesting debate towards the end of this video. The next up, a test that's going to be very interesting for our 5700 XT, Marvel Rivals, 1080p medium settings with FSR set to balanced. Once again, this is a game that has built-in ray tracing that you can disable, but we're running a medium preset that's going to push the 5700 XT a bit because there is a little bit of lighting reflections built in. And again, the 5700 XT just does not have that hardware on board and end up with an average of 85 FPS with 1% low of 66. Now the 2070 Super, we ran those same settings, but we went with DLSS set to balance because of FSR being for the AMD GPU. And this is the biggest gap we've seen between the 2070 Super and 5700 XT, getting an average of 105 FPS with a 1% low of 82. And lastly, the 2080 Super did very well as well with a 114 average and a 1% low of 83. Now the gap between the 2070 Super and 2080 Super in this title is not that crazy, which was kind of surprising to me. I was expecting to see much more of a gap, maybe like 20 FPS, but again, in the used market pricing, we're only talking about a $20 difference right now, so getting those extra frames for about 20 bucks doesn't seem too bad, but we are sub $200, so every 10 to 20 bucks does matter when building a budget PC, and the 5700 XT without that ray tracing hardware built in does struggle versus the 20 series GPUs that, again, it's older ray tracing hardware, but they do have it. And lastly, we have 3D Mark Time Spy, which we're going to get the GPU score because we're using the same system. We don't need the overall score, just the GPU score. And we're going to figure out our cent per point calculation based on the price we paid for each GPU to determine which one is the best price to performance. First up, with the 5700 XT, we end up with a GPU score of 9,782, which is a 0.0153 cent per point score at the $150 price point. The 2070 Super ended up with a score of 10,149, which is a 0.0167 cent per point score. I'm not going to make the joke. And that is at a price point of $169. And lastly, our 2070 Super got a score of 11,650, which is a 0.0162 cent per point score, and that is at the $189 price point. So in terms of the price to performance hierarchy, the best option is the 5700 XT using this score, then the 2080 Super because it is a faster GPU, but again, the price performance is still really solid, and then the 2080 Super because it is the fastest GPU and the price difference isn't that crazy, ends up getting a narrow victory over the 2070 Super, which is in last place. Now, all these GPUs, in my opinion, are great options, and we like to do these videos as blueprints for you guys to get an idea of what price you should pay for a graphics card and what you shouldn't pay for a graphics card if you're wanting to get a GPU under $200 on the used market. My personal recommendation, try to find a 2080 Super at a really competitive price, maybe even less than what we paid in this video on the used market. Secondary markets will help you out a lot, especially your local listings. You may find one of these for $170. Absolute no-brainer if you find one there. But if you do pay $189, I think that's still good price to performance, but be under that $200 mark, because once you get over $200, there are some other options like the 2080 Ti, which are going to be much faster, and they will be another option you would consider. But sub $200, keep that in mind. And the 5700 XT, man, if you're just not playing ray trace titles, that is an awesome GPU still in 2025 going into 2026. These cards are older and they have been through a lot. They've been through multiple mining crazes, and some of them you may get will be rough around the edges, but if you get one that is solid and one that's similar to what we have right here, it is a really good GPU still for 1080p gaming and 1440p gaming in non-VRAM hungry titles. So now we finish all the comparisons from today's video. Let's bring Jackson back in here and wrap this video up real quick.
So that was a lot of benchmarking, and I definitely think that we learned a lot. One thing I learned is that the 5700 XT is definitely a lot better than I remember it being. And, you know, the big takeaways, these all have 8 gigs of VRAM. They all have very similar power draw. They have similar port layout. So it makes sense that they're all in that same kind of $40 price grouping. But at the end of the day, it seems like the 5700 XT and the 2080 Super have some pretty good bang for buck, and then the 2070 Super is really close as well.
And again, this is just a guide to show you guys what you can look out for, because again, we got a really good 5700 XT here. Your mileage may vary. You may get a much more budget option that'll perform worse than the one that we have right here, or you could get an even better deal on, let's say, a 2070 Super that's more beefed out than the one we have right here, a blower style card that may not be boosting as high as it could. But before we wrap this video up, we did want to give some honorable mentions to other GPUs that we do recommend that are a little bit beyond the $200 price points.
So obviously, it's used is used. Deals are deals. You may find 1,000 different cards. I'm sure one of you in the comments down below is going to say you got a 4090 for this price, but realistically, 3060 is a card that's like $200 to $220. That's definitely a good step up. You get 12 gigs of VRAM and a little bit more modern performance with less wattage draw. The 6600 is a card that we love. RX 6600 from AMD, they're like $150, and it's kind of like the predecessor to the 5700 XT. It just performs a little worse. That would actually be the 6700 XT technically. And lastly, of course, we got the 2080 Ti, which is a card that has 11 gigs of VRAM, so kind of like in the middle, and a pretty good performance uplift. It would definitely outperform all of these cards by, I assume, at least another 10 FPS for just a little bit more money, maybe like $20.
So if you guys want a deal hunt for any of the GPUs mentioned in today's video, links in the description down below will be affiliate links. They will help us out. Let us know what GPU you're purchasing under $200 going into 2026, and which one is your favorite on this table.
And as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/toastybros, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Now all these cards right here are cards that'll end up in PCBros.tech gaming PCs, where Matt and I build them live every morning on twitch.tv/toastybros.
And some of these are ending up in build guides for the New Year's for Toasty Bros, which then will be sold at PCBros.tech. Either way, it ends up at PC Bros. Use code Toasty Bros on checkout. You will save 3% on your next purchase. See you guys later. Goodbye.